Okay, now let us take up ecological pyramids. Ecological pyramid is the graphical representation of a food chain. At the base of this pyramid, you will find the producers, while at the apex, the top carnivore. So one ecological pyramid represents one food chain in, in the way of graphical representation. Ecological pyramids can be of three types: pyramid of number, pyramid of biomass, and pyramid of energy. Let's take a pyramid of number. It represents the number of organisms at each trophic level. It is upright pyramid when it is upright pyramid when the number is highest at the base. In a food chain where there are large number of producers compared to the consumers, then the pyramid becomes upright. Okay, here is one example. This is a pyramid of number, upright pyramid. The base is made up of the primary producers, which are about 5 million 84 5,842,000 producers. Then if you take up the primary consumers, 708,000. Then secondary consumer, 3,54,000. And the tertiary consumer, or the top carnivore, just 3. So the number is declining. Let's take up another example. Say 10,000 grasses on which 10,000 grasses on which 1,000 grasshoppers are feeding, and these 1,000 grasshoppers are the food for 100 frogs, and 100 frogs are the food for 10 snakes, and 10 snakes are food for one hawk, the top carnivore. Now can you name the trophic levels? Producers are the grasses, grasshoppers primary consumers, frogs secondary consumers, snakes tertiary consumers, and hawk is a top carnivore. This is an example of the, again, pyramid of number. There are two pyramids given here, one inverted and another is spindle shaped. Inverted means where the producers are less compared to the consumers in number. So producers here represented by a single tree, so one tree on which several birds are dependent for their food. So herbivores, the next trophic level, shown larger than the producer. So the pyramid is here inverted. Apex is down and base is up. Actually the base is pointed, you can say, and apex is broad. So inverted pyramid. So on these birds there are parasites, several parasites, ectoparasites living on their body surface and feeding on their skin cells and blood. So that is the next trophic level. We can call these parasites as the secondary consumers. Then in these ectoparasites, which are ticks and mites, in their bodies again there may be several thousands of the hyperparasites, means microorganisms causing diseases in them or dependent for their food on these parasites. So the parasites which parasitize the other parasites, the parasites which parasitize other parasites, they are called as hyperparasites. In simple, the parasites which are attacking the ectoparasites, they are called as hyperparasites. Now another pyramid is given here, where it also starts with the single producer, one tree, and then several birds, herbivore birds, right, coming under primary consumer, and on these herbivores, we find that the large bird hawk is preying upon. So hawk is single again. So up to the primary consumers herbivore level, you see that the uh, pyramid is widening from pointed the producer to the herbivore. Up to that, it appears as if it is inverted pyramid, but when we take up a single hawk there, again its shape changes, so it becomes a spindle shaped. So that means the pyramid of number may be upright, inverted, or spindle shaped, depending on the number of organisms at different trophic level. Pyramid of biomass, now the second type, it represents the total dry weight of the organisms at each trophic level in terms of kilogram per unit area. So let us see how a pyramid of biomass can be represented. Remember, here we are taking into consideration the biomass, the total mass of the organisms at each trophic level. So primary producers here, if you take up here, the data given is their biomass is 809 kilograms uh, per meter area, because here it is taken in terms of square meter. So 809 kilograms per square meter area, that is if you take up 1 square meter area of the grassland in a food chain, its total dry weight is amounting up to 809. And the next is the primary consumer, whose or the level of the primary consumers, and at this trophic level we see that the total dry weight is about 37 kilogram per square meter area, so decreasing. And to the next trophic level, if you move secondary consumers, again it becomes lesser, that is 11 kilogram per square meter. And finally the top carnivore, just 1.5 kilogram per square meter. So this is how the pyramid of biomass shows a sharp decrease in biomass at higher trophic level. Now another upright pyramid of biomass and the inverted pyramid of biomass is shown in this picture. So upright pyramid of biomass, showing here the producers, plants. Let's take up 1000 kg is their total dry weight, and then herbivores, which includes the you can say deers or antelopes and rabbits, etc. So the total dry weight or the biomass of these herbivores will be 100 kg. And the next trophic level is primary carnivore or secondary consumers. Let's take up wolf as the or fox as the primary carnivore or the secondary consumer, and the total biomass there is 10 kilograms. And lastly, the top carnivore, it is the lion shown there, so the total dry weight or biomass, it will be 1 kg. So like this, starting with 1000 ending up with 1 kg, that is how the sharp decline in the total dry weight of the body is taking place in the pyramid of biomass. Now another pyramid of biomass is given there down at the bottom, where you see that the primary producers are showing the biomass as 4 kg you can take up per square meter area, and the primary consumers as 21 kgs per square meter area. So that means here the pyramid becomes the inverted one. Okay. Let us take up the next slide. Now, inverted pyramid in an aquatic ecosystem also you find. There the producers, which are the tiny microscopic phytoplanktons, they amount up to just 4 gram per square meter. Then comes the next trophic level, herbivores, which are the fish feeding upon these producers, phytoplanktons. So they their total dry weight or the biomass is 8 grams per square meter. And next level, if you go, carnivores, larger fishes which are feeding upon the smaller fishes. So their total biomass is around 12 grams per square meter. So this pyramid shows that there is a increase in the total dry weight of organisms from producers to carnivore. This kind of pyramid is called as inverted pyramid of the biomass. Now, pyramid of energy. Pyramid of energy represents the amount of energy trapped per unit time and area in different trophic levels of food chain. So here we are looking into the amount of energy present at each of the trophic level. Pyramid of energy, remember, is always upright. It cannot be inverted or any other type. It's always upright. Why it is always upright? Because as we go up along the food chain, along the pyramid of energy, we see that the amount of energy is declining. Take up this particular picture here showing the pyramid of energy. In rainforest, for example, we have here a lot of leaves, green leaves shown there in the rainforest, and suppose the energy present in them we take up as 100% total, okay, in producers, and only 10% it will be transferred or passed on to the next trophic level. So therefore, in insect larvae, if you take up the amount of energy present, that is 10%, and then these insect larvae will be eaten up by the primate here shown. The primate which you see here in this picture is a bonobo, and this primate is the secondary consumer which eats on the insect larvae. So the total dry weight or the biomass at this trophic level, secondary consumer, will be just 1% of the total, uh, not biomass, sorry, it is the energy present at this level. Energy present at the secondary consumer level, if you take up, it is just 1% of the total energy which is there in the producers, and of course it is 10% of that present in the primary consumers. And likewise, if you take up the top carnivore, where you see there a crocodile is shown, and the amount of energy available at this trophic level, that is just 0.1% in the crocodile. So that's how the energy from 100% in the producers has decreased to just 0.1% in the crocodile. So that is how we see that the pyramid of energy is always upright. Then let's take up major ecosystems now. Ecosystems such as pond, river, stream, spring, sea, forest, grassland, desert are operating as self-sufficient interacting systems in the biosphere. The major ecosystems are, so what are the uh, ecosystems, different types of ecosystems here mentioned: pond, river, stream, spring, seas, forest, grassland, desert. All these are existing in the biosphere as self-sufficient interacting systems. Okay, so the lot of food webs, food chains are taking place there, and they are interdependent, and the biotic components and abiotic components, uh, these are they are interrelated, and in a particular kind of condition, in a particular kind of climatical condition, and the abiotic factors over there, particular type of organisms, plants and animals living there, which are very well adapting to that. So there is a perfect interaction and making a healthy ecosystem. So ecosystems are like forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, marine ecosystem, desert ecosystem, and river or stream ecosystem. Forest ecosystem, if you take up in on the land, if you take up on the earth, actually 19% of the total land area on earth is occupied by forests only. Then if you take up this array diagram, it shows you that trees and other green producers, that is the producers on the land, they are providing oxygen to the atmosphere, okay, and also to the hydrosphere. Those green plants which are there in the uh, aquatic medium, they also release the oxygen, and in turn what they get from the atmosphere: carbon dioxide and water vapors. And likewise the uh, animals and decomposers, that is the consumers and recyclers, we can say. Decomposers can also be called as recyclers because they release the mineral nutrients back to the plants. So here these organisms, they are mainly again depending upon the producers or trees. So the biomass in these animals in the form of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen is entering into the animals by way of the food chain. And all these animals, consumer section, if you take up, they actually release the carbon dioxide and water vapors into the atmosphere, and they take up oxygen during their respiration from the atmosphere. As well as the recyclers or decomposers need uh, more and more oxygen for uh, their function, that is decomposition of the dead organic matter. So in this way the atmospheric oxygen, which is contributed much from the producers, is again taken up by the consumers and recyclers, and carbon dioxide is released back, and that carbon dioxide and water vapors released during respiration will again be available to the plants, the producers, to make the food by way of photosynthesis. Now let's take up the abiotic components and biotic components in the ecosystem, forest ecosystem. So abiotic components are rock, soil, amount of rainfall, temperature and humidity. And the biotic components are grasses, herbs, shrubs, trees, insects, decomposers, birds, mammals, reptiles and amphibians. So abiotic components vary from one forest to another forest because climatical conditions are changing. Then composition of the soil also varies. Its inorganic and organic components vary, leading to different types of vegetations in different forests. And average annual temperature and rainfall, as well as the snowfall, also decides the climate of the forest ecosystem. Then biotic communities of the forest ecosystem are the dominant trees, which are the dominant community, then shrubs and ground vegetations that make up the producers in the forest. So trees, shrubs and the ground vegetation, they are the producers in the forest, and species diversity and stratification also varies from one forest to another forest. Different species of the plants and animals survive in different forests based on the kind of climatical conditions over there and the soil conditions, and the soil composition also plays important role. Ants, beetles, leaf hoppers, bugs, spiders, and the smaller, and all these are the smaller herbivore organisms or primary consumers, we can say, in the forest ecosystems, which mainly feed on the plant or plant products. Now here the picture which has appeared is of the forest food web, and in this food web we find that the uh, all organisms which are interconnected in a food web are shown. You see there the plant, the trees, tall trees, grasses, the bushes, all these are the what you call producers, and the herbivores like rabbit are feeding on that, and rabbit will be preyed upon by the fox. So fox is here at the secondary consumer level or primary carnivore level, and likewise the rabbit is also prey for the red-tailed hawk, and these hawks feed upon the rabbits, and even the small rodents are food for fox as well as the red-tailed hawk. So that means the hawk is at the tertiary as well as secondary uh, trophic level or secondary consumer level. Then we also see that on the green plants, which are the producers, the nutrients they synthesize by the help of photosynthesis are indirectly available to all other organisms. Okay, and even you find vultures, which are the scavengers. Some authors consider vultures also as the consumers, but the correct term will be the scavengers because they feed upon the dead animals lying on the ground, and these vultures are also the part of the food web. And we see there at the bottom of this picture there are decomposers, fungi and bacteria feeding upon the detritus, that is dead and decaying organic matter. So let's go through these points. Large herbivores or primary consumers are elephants, deer, mole, red foxes, mongoose, etc. in the forest ecosystem. Then secondary consumers of forest ecosystem are snakes, birds, lizards and foxes. They are the carnivores that live by eating the herbivores. Foxes you find both as herbivore and the carnivore in the secondary consumer level, because fox feeds on fruits also as well as on the other animals. So it is one example of omnivore here in the forest ecosystem. Then comes the tertiary consumers or the top carnivores that are capable of hunting any animal found in the forest. And the decomposers lastly, like what we have seen, bacteria, actinomycetes, and fungi that decompose the dead bodies of the plants and animal matter, dead bodies of plants and animals, and their organic matter is being broken down into minerals, inorganic minerals, which are available to the plants again for their growth and development. Now, functions of ecosystem, let's take up. Forest ecosystem plays very important role because it provides the oxygen. So Amazon forest is known as lung of the earth because it is keeping the world's atmosphere rich in oxygen, because it is a thick forest with lush green vegetation. So from all these vegetations, oxygen is being released into the atmosphere. Then the forest ecosystem keeps climate cool and pleasant. The cool climate is due to the evaporation of the water vapors from the leaf surfaces, and that trap the air, and that's how cool and humid atmosphere is created. And the functions of ecosystem further, if you take up, supply raw materials for forest based industries like paper industry, and the industries which are dealing with the furniture making and all, which get the raw material from the forest. And not only that, even the medicines which we are getting from some plants, medicinal plants, that's also the raw material for the medicinal industries. Then these forest ecosystems protects the soil from erosion and desertification, so maintaining the soil fertility even. Then trees protect bank of river from bank erosion. Then effectively prevent the landslides. Medicines are produced from the raw material obtained from the forest. Both indigenous and modern medicines are being prepared now by the help of the extracts of different plants. And our own country is getting a lot of benefit by exporting so many herbal based medicine to the other countries. Then the forest ecosystem also protects biodiversity and contributes to the sustenance of the ecosystem, or sustainable existence of all the living organisms in an ecosystem. And it also meets the recreational and aesthetic needs, because people like to visit such places as picnic spots, and also to learn about the environment and its importance. And not only that, aesthetic needs are also connected with it, because some cultures, some religions protect and they take care of these uh, forests, and for them the trees may be the gods. So that's how the uh, aesthetic value is also connected with the forest ecosystem. So forest ecosystem increases the groundwater level also by effective absorption of the rainwater, as it doesn't allow the rainwater to um, run off and end up into the sea. It will allow the rainwater to get absorbed and making the underground water rich. Now, if judicially we use, the forest ecosystem can generate a lot of income through export of forest products. We are dependent on forests for firewood, fodder, and medicines. So, with this, we conclude this video. I will come back with the next type of the ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, in my next discussion.